Welcome, everyone, to the new and improved wrap-up. Today is Thursday, August 29th, 2024. Before we dive into today's topics, take a moment to click that repost button and follow us here on X if you haven't already. It helps a ton and ensures you don't miss any of our upcoming content.
Yeah, and remember, what you hear in this podcast is just our opinion, definitely not professional financial advice. We're not experts. If you need specific advice, please ask someone who's a professional in that area. Listen at your own risk and always double check before making decisions based upon what we talk about. Sage, how you doing today in that green room?
I'm doing great. I asked my buddy to paint this room gray, and little did I know he was colorblind. Found out later.
Oh man, yeah, I'm also afflicted by the color blindness, so you know, it's just like it's not at the level that I can't see that, but I could see if you're completely red green colorblind, it would be tough.
Yeah, it's tough. This room's got a lot of different lighting elements going on to it too. So I'm sure he started figuring that out halfway through the job. But you live and you learn.
Yeah, you have a lot of people right now, Sage, offering their what do we want to say, interior design knowledge, right? A lot of people want to suggest some colors for that room, but it's probably not the focus of the show.
Not the focus of the show, indeed, but the top story, the beginning focus of the show is this week LUKSO is commencing their Asia trip, and the team will be hitting Tokyo, South Korea, Vietnam, Singapore, Bangkok, and India. In all these countries, they have planned everything from meetups, dev talks, side events, and they made sure to plan plenty of time for in-person meetups with the team. So if you're in the area attending any of these large events, make sure to hit up anyone from the LUKSO team and you can begin to chat. Louis, the head of experience at LUKSO, there he is right there. Picture off his Twitter. I think that was on his birthday, actually, this past one. Louis, the head of experience at LUKSO, says that with these events, they are trying for as many high impact events while saving as much money as possible. I think that's great to hear. Fantastic play from Louis and the team. And it's easy to see why they need to spend more time in these markets. Here we have a chart. This is Genesis validators, or sorry, Genesis nodes that started running and securing the LUKSO network upon the start of mainnet. Now, if you're not a Genesis validator, yet you're still securing the network, make sure to inquire with Jordy at the staking burst. We can get you added to the stats page. That'll make it so this chart right here will be fully up to date with all of the nodes that we have across the LUKSO network. The point of bringing this up now is that you'll notice that, especially with Genesis validators, we don't have a lot of people securing the network, staking their nodes over in these Asian countries that we'll be visiting. So it'll be great to be able to get some more people securing the network over on that part of the world. It also is a good point to notice that there wasn't a lot of Asia-based projects that submitted in the past grant rounds from the foundation. It's also a consistent theme with the past hackathons that we had. There wasn't a whole lot of presence from those Asian countries in those rounds either. So again, it'll be good to get this LUKSO presence going over there, and hopefully in these next ones coming, like the one in September with Gitcoin, we can get more people from these powerhouse countries participating. So shout out to Louis for doing a great job in addressing, a market that is underrepresented in LUKSO. They also did a great job with choosing what events to go to, right? So South Korea is a top country when it comes to blockchain adoption. And they have Korea Blockchain Week, right, which is a huge event. It's Asia's most influential blockchain conference, a lot of people would say, jam-packed with high-caliber guests, and it's developer-focused, right? One of the largest developer-focused conferences in the world. Huge to see. Singapore is also high on that list of countries widely adopting blockchain. And Singapore is home to Token 2049, which last year was in Dubai. That's the event that got seriously flooded, right? A whole lot of damage there. But this year it's in Singapore. Over 20,000 attendees. It should be an absolutely huge event. And as we know, Japan is a massive hub for artists, creatives, and cultural revolution. And we know how that fits in with the narrative of LUKSO and its sleek UX that is creative focused. Thailand, they'll also be hitting, which is hosting DevCon, which is the Ethereum conference for developers, thinkers, and makers. DevCon is a crypto conference. They say without the noise, right? It's no sponsorships, no shilling, just conversation and connection, right? And with a lot of these bigger events, they tend to get bogged down in too much of the sponsorships and the shilling. But DevCon should be a nice change of pace. So I'm sure the LUKSO team will be able to make a nice impact there. And they're also hitting Vietnam and India as well, which will be very important stops as they're hubs for builders with little representation of LUKSO in them. Now, knowing the wealth of both capital and developer power that dwells on this side of the world, it's extremely bullish to see those guys hitting that side. Now, we transition into a little bit of what would be blockchain statistics here. The goal with the wrap up moving forward, especially in this segment, is to be able to start relaying some chain information, right? Start talking about daily active users, start talking about new accounts, start talking about daily transactions. Currently, that's a little tough because the Explorer that we have, the mainnet Explorer, doesn't really do a good job of referencing universal profiles or really LSP information itself. We have this little meme here where it's showing the current Explorer that we have and saying it's worthless, which it's very much not worthless. For the purpose of this show and what we wanted to get across, which would be those three important statistics, it doesn't really do a good job justifying that. But this Explorer here by Block Scout, who, by the way, has done a great job for Ethereum and its broader ecosystem for years. They actually just went through a couple grant rounds at Gitcoin and were able to raise over 3 rounds upwards of $30,000, which, great for them. Congrats to the team. We would greatly appreciate if some of those funds went towards some more LUKSO integration so we can start getting some of these stats that we want to look at week over week. In the meantime, though, we're going to do our best to produce some of this data ourselves in the coming weeks. And if you or a loved one feels inclined to help us gather that data, please reach out to anyone on the Keys team, and we'd be happy to appreciate your services. Time to now throw it over to the Ethalorian, who sat down with Fabian Vogelsteller, LUKSO co-founder and ERC20 creator, to discuss various topics, including a new development for universal profiles called the Grid. Eth, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I was actually on mute, wasn't ready for the transition, trying not to breathe heavily in the background while you were talking. Yeah, last week I had the opportunity to sit down with Fabian for an in-depth conversation. I'm grateful that he took some time out of his busy schedule to chat with us ahead of this week's show. One of us was even in a castle during the interview. I'm going to leave it up to you to guess who that was. During our chat, we touched on a variety of current topics, but the majority of our discussion actually centered on a new project codenamed The Grid. Now, the project might actually be called The Grid, but I'm going to leave room for them to change the name, although I've grown quite fond of the name. And I have to admit, if they decide to change it, I'm probably going to be a little bit heartbroken. So if you're going to change it, guys, make sure it's good. Yeah, so we're going to share a few clips from that discussion with you now, and we're going to release the full interview or the interview in its entirety tomorrow on our YouTube, so you can then see the full context of the conversation and get a real flavor for what happened. But why don't we show that first clip from the Grid, Rob?
I'm super pumped about it. We are building it now together to make universal profiles quite useful through a grid that you can literally extend with anything. This is what I see is missing, bringing Web 2 and Web 3 together into the same place while not trying to hard marry them, because that's really right now not really possible, but really just making them behave like it can be the same thing. It's in the same place. Everything that we're building is pointing towards this, right? Universal profile, universal everything, put everything in one place. We can marry it symbolically. So the things that you show with all the Web 2 stuff that you see in your grid underneath your profile that you want to show, you're obviously not locking in with your universal profile yet, but we are linking them mentally together by showing them in the same context. People that come from Web 2 and just use this as a modern MySpace, they then are able to discover what Web 3 means. And then they realize, oh, that's what I can do in Web 3.
What I'm looking at is it incentivizes me to go and crawl across profiles, right? Like at any time I could go on universalprofile.cloud right now and I can check out someone's profile, throw it in a grid context where I can customize this profile, this grid, to make it really reflect what I like to do, the things that exist outside of just my token holdings. And then it becomes a really interesting expression of every user.
You couldn't have done that just 10 years ago because the web was not responsive. But because now we all have screens of that size, now you, for the first time, literally have every website, pretty much every website in the world already works in a smaller space because of the phones. This inspires developers to build things for these profiles, and for them it's now a lot easier because they can build little widgets rather than building a full on website. Imagine you have a token, you could potentially build in the universal swaps widget there as well, trying to tell people, hey, that's my token, buy it right underneath my profile.
Think about that, just as the virality of these widgets as they start to come up. Like if I've got a widget and you come across my profile and you're like, wow, that's a really cool widget, I like that, and then suddenly you get this massive growth adoption. It feels like the perfect Trojan horse to actually onboard lots of people into Web3 without forcing them to come to Web3. The killer app is here. It's coming. It's going to be fun.
I'm very excited. It's going to be very interesting to watch what people come up with.
All right. So now you got to guess who's in the castle. It was definitely me, right? No. Uh, but in truth, the background on Fabian looks like it's fake. It looks like a Google background that he's put behind him. But if you want to like sanity check that, just look in the mirror. You can actually see on the screen of the computer that he is in a real room, believe it or not, in Switzerland in a castle. So cool. All right. Let me give you a mental model before I enter into commentary here on what we just, that short little clip. Think of train cars, right? Really flat train cars. And then think of the containers that go onto ships, right? And if you take containers on these flat cars, they become interchangeable. And yeah, I talk with my hands. Probably didn't notice that with my clone before. So if you put these interchangeable containers on top of these flat cars, then it doesn't so much matter what's in any individual container necessarily to make it function. All you need are these flat cars, and then you can put any type of container on top that you want, and anything that you want in any container in any context, you can then use it. This idea of containers becomes really important, especially as we get into the second video, which we're not ready to go to yet, Rob. Let me just tell you that. But in the context of the grid, think of each one of these little grid squares as like one of those flat trail car, like train cars, and all the content that a user might dump in or containerize and then put on top of one of these flat train cars. Like that's the grid square. That's the important stuff. That's the stuff that expresses the user. I think what the team is building here is incredible. And when you listen to the rest of this conversation, and especially as we start to see the grid roll out, I think this is going to become really apparent to you how powerful it is to have this interoperability on top of a decentralized network, a chain underneath that is flexible enough to take all of this individual customization that you can add. Like Fabian said, you can have the context, you can have web 2 native apps and just change the context in which a viewer sees them, put them in more of a like maybe a decentralized environment in this universal profile, really in, let's call it the grid. And suddenly you can, I don't know, let's say elevate the experience for the user, because the user can now see this web 2 maybe isolated siloed profile from like an X account next to something that's really interesting, like Fabian said, a widget from universal swaps, where you could actually maybe trade a creator coin, a cultural currency, right next to the creator's content. Super cool. Anyway, I ad-libbed there for a bit. Let me also say the follower system really made me start checking out universalprofile.cloud on my iPhone. I had never really done that before. And when I started looking at universalprofile.cloud on my iPhone, it immediately struck me. And I really hadn't noticed it because I was really caught up in my own internal struggle of being a LUKSO maxi over the past couple months. Let's call it like the dark night of the LUKSO soul. Like that's what I was going through. But man, wow, universal profiles look stunning on a mobile screen. And I can now see a lot of the design choices for universalprofile.cloud. And really a lot of the design choices for for many of the digital screens that LUKSO puts out there, they're optimized for the mobile view. They're slick, they're clean. If you haven't done this already, please go on your phone, go to universalprofile.cloud and just start scrolling around with the addition of the NVO indexer. added to the profiles. Everything is lightning fast. It's really an enjoyable experience. But I probably said enough between this clip and the next clip. I want you to think about this idea of containers while you hear this next clip from Fabian about ICP.
I had a meeting with the Affinity or ICP, and we brainstormed things that we can use Internet Computer for with profiles, and it's a perfect match. You can do like
Really?
really cool things where your Internet Computer container works as private storage that you can now show certain content only to people that are connected to me and subscribe to me. Internet Computer is it's an amazing addition to Universal Profiles.
Yeah, all right. So ICP that comes from Definity, it's the Internet Computer. It is another blockchain, but if there's in Fabian's talking about this kind of synergy between universal profiles, maybe the grid, which what he was talking about to give context, and then ICP. One of the advantages that he might be trying to leverage here, and again, I'm just trying to give my own commentary here. I'm not speaking for Fabian at all, because it was very a short conversation that we had, but ICP canisters can store large amounts of data and more cost effectively than the EVM can store that data. So if you have a grid system, if you're a creator and you are looking to create these kind of maybe token gated experiences for something like videos or large files, movies, I don't know, music, albums, things that would not make sense to store maybe on an EVM or maybe with classic architecture that you might use. I don't know. Without getting too deep here or running myself off a cliff where I'm just going to be out of depth, the opportunity to have again these flat cars, right, which is the LUKSO network, which is universal profiles and the grid, and then to add these containers on top of each one of these flat cars, and you can have many cars, right? Think of how long a train is. To add these containers that are very specialized or unique to your needs can be extraordinarily interesting and super powerful. And if it's blockchain based storage, where these containers can scale dynamically and allow for flexible data growth without significant cost increases, meaning gas increases as the network gets more use, I think that that is incredibly interesting. And that's what I'll say about this. Now, sure, there's going to be more challenges, and we can speak about those now, but I don't feel like technically I am in the spot to be able to do so. So I am going to, I guess, end my commentary there. But one other topic that we hit on in this interview was the story protocol. So, Rob, let's hear this video.
When I looked at the code, it's like so obviously that they just like learned from us. I just literally took the same thing. I think we even met them at a conference once, and then they were all a bit strange. Now we know why. They would have been smarter actually using the full thing and using the standards, because then they could also potentially at some point use the browser extension, other things. But it looks to me also like it's very focused on IP. I don't think this is even like a remotely kind of like covering our area. Yeah, it's kind of a great confirmation of that we are having the right tech and we're on the right path. That's how I would see it. I
So,
personally find it impressive how you can raise 140 million if that's true, because that means your evaluation is what, $1 billion, and you haven't
yeah.
launched. That cannot really go well. Not gonna lie, but this doesn't seem to be functional. Uh, I mean, that's too much. That's too much expectations and too much shoes to fill.
Yeah, let's frame the story topic as narrative confirmation. Once again, we're right where we need to be at just the right moment. Where in the NFT craze, maybe we were narratively on, but maybe a little late. I think we are early to everything going on in the market right now around decentralized social media, around real world assets, around creator IP. Um, Now it's just about delivering the tech promptly, right? In our conversation, Fabian hinted at the follower system and that it was going to come out, and it was launched shortly thereafter. If the team behind UE can keep up this momentum, honestly, we're going to be in really good shape. At the end here, I want to say, remember, LUKSO's true value proposition really lies in its new standards. However, I want to clarify and reframe this idea in a way that resonates with a point made by Yaman, one of the smart contract developers at LUKSO. Yaman insists that users shouldn't focus on discussing the standards themselves. As a community, we should not focus on trying to shill people LSP3, 7, 8. You pick a number, you be like, it doesn't matter. Instead, these standards should fade in the background when we shift our attention to the applications powered by them. Okay, I'm going to say this loud for the people in the back. The app layer is the most crucial aspect of LUKSO. This is the app chain. It's where Web3 fades into the background, allowing social interactions to take the center stage. That is the promise of the grid. It's why I'm so damn excited. And it's why the follower system is so cool to see it come out. We are just at the beginning. It's like the starting line. I know it feels like it was a long walk up to the starting line, but honestly, we're here now, guys. Everyone be thankful for that. And let's start talking about the apps that are on the chain. Let's start promoting that application experience, because I feel like that is the most important element. That's the most important message that we can share out there. All right, now I've said everything I need to say. Sage, I hope you're ready to go. It's coming back to you.
Oh yeah, good to go. Thanks for that, Eth. I mean, those clips are great. I think for anybody who hasn't seen the follower system yet, it is a follower system like you have on Instagram or Twitter or anything, where you can follow people and they can follow you, and it's directly in your universal profile, right? So this wallet that you have that can be used to go interact with D apps and exchange currency and do all of those fun things. You can now follow each other on.
I forgot. Let me add. I just saw a tweet. Afiso, which is one of the applications that is on LUKSO, being built by the LUKSO builders. The follower system is a smart contract standard. So he built his follower system prior to this standard coming out. And he just said on a tweet this morning saying, hey, this is great. I'm just going to dump the follower system I built, which is only for Afiso. And now I'm going to integrate this universal following standard. And that's exactly what we want. We want all apps that build now just to adopt that follower standard. And now our community of people that we build around ourselves, our social graph, they transfer from application to application. That's what powers the app layer.
Bingo. Powers the app layer. Those are the fantastic use cases that we've been told for years were going to happen, right? For years, it's been told like, oh, you can't take your followers off of Facebook, right? Can't take your friends off of Facebook. And that is no longer a reality as soon as, these things come on to LUKSO at some point.
Yep.
But great. Good to hear from you, Eth. We're going to transition to another segment of mine where I'm going to talk a bit about the Ethereum Foundation. Now, for the Ethereum Foundation, for the past 10 years, Ethereum contributors have been complaining about the lack of transparency around the Ethereum Foundation, the EF, specifically when it comes to finances. Now, as we know, a blockchain uniquely provides transparent money movements itself, right? You can go on there and see all of the money flowing out of the Ethereum Foundation wallets, but with no context, it doesn't help. You don't know where it's going, who it's going to, what's it going for. Now, this week, Josh Stark from the EF put out a thread discussing the road forward for improving their monetary transparency. They're putting together 2022, 2023, and eventually 2024 reports, sharing info on spending. This chart over here is an example of one of them, where it discusses both internal and external spending. Internal spending being R&D, salaries, etc. External spending being grants across the ecosystem. Now, if you ask me, 10 years is a pretty long time to come up with something so simple, right? If we're coming up with essentially a report on the finances of the EF and a chart like this, that would suffice way more than what they've done for the 10 years. Seems pretty simple to wait 10 years to do. Now, people have been calling the LUKSO Foundation to improve its transparency around spending and roles in hiring as well. Now, as the LUKSO Foundation is in a transitionary period and has only been around for a couple months, rather than the Ethereum Foundation being around for years and years, it's not expected to have this happen anytime soon. But it is important to see that this has been a constant struggle around Ethereum, and they're finally beginning to act on it. And clearly, we know we don't want to just replicate the chains who have come before us. We want to exceed past them, right? So just as we've made improvements to the tech, let's make improvements on how a foundation can be run, right? So Fancy, again, not saying we need this now, just I'd love to not have to wait 10 years, right? And I'm sure everybody else would as well. Now, I'm going to throw it over to the 8-armed Alt Anonymous, where he's going to tell us a bit about the arrest of Telegram founder Pavel Durov, what it means for our freedoms of speech, and how LUKSO and its universal profiles can be the way forward. Alt, take it away.
Thank you, Sage. Right on. And GM fam. So by now you've probably heard about that shocking arrest of Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram. A quick update on that. French authorities have charged him with crimes including complicity in distributing child porn, illegal drugs, and hacking software on the Telegram app. Durov must post bail of 5 million euros, report to the police twice a week, and isn't allowed to leave French territory. This attack is a dangerous precedent, for social media in general, because it could signal the erosion of digital privacy and freedom of speech. Durov is known for his commitment to user privacy and, resistance to government censorship, which has made Telegram a refuge for free communication, and he became a target because of that. With his arrest, it seems that governments are becoming emboldened to sort of crack down on, other tech leaders as well, and platforms that prioritize user rights over state control, leading to increased censorship, state surveillance, and a chilling effect on free expression across the internet as a whole. So this could severely undermine the principles that we embody in Web3 of open and secure communication in that digital age. So, that's where Web3 comes into play. It sort of acts as this digital locksmith, which can free up users from the cages and confines of, centralized control and return the keys of privacy, ownership, and freedom back to their rightful owners. In other news, there's things like the UK arresting people for even retweeting a meme. That type of stuff is a big red flag that we need to wake up to this, existential threat. Edward Snowden, it says here, the arrest of Durov is an assault on the basic human rights of speech and association. I am surprised and deeply saddened that Macron has descended to the level of taking hostages as a means for gaining access to private communications. It lowers not only France, but the world. Elon Musk, who of course has had his own issues with his battle to protect freedom of speech, he posted a clip of Pavel chatting with Tucker Carlson with the hashtag #FreePavel. Let's check it out.
To be fair, you have now Twitter or X, that seemingly becoming more pro freedom of speech. It's a great development, and things are starting to change, it seems. We love the fact that Elon bought Twitter. We thought it was a great development for a number of reasons. First reason is just innovation. You could see X trying a lot of things. Some of them will turn out to be mistakes. Some of them will work, but at least they're trying to innovate. That's something we didn't have outside of Telegram and a few other companies in this industry for the last 10 years. What X is trying to do is innovation, trying different things, trying to give power to the creators, trying to get the ecosystem economy going. Those are all exciting things. And I think we need more companies like that.
So that most definitely resonates with me quite a bit. And I'm sure it does with you as well, being in this space so early. You probably understand where this is all headed. And especially, the part about giving power to the creators and a decentralized economy. Now, to find the perfect infrastructure or, railways for those things to exist and flourish, look no further than LUKSO. With on-chain activity, building reputation, and identity at the core L1 level, a smart contract-based universal profile becomes the foundation for everything. Replacing traditional wallets while remaining fully decentralized for long-term sustainability. So for users to interact in the future, it's essential that they own their accounts once and for all. I'll wrap it up here with a tweet from Fabian, chiming in. He says, what is happening with Telegram founder Pavel Durov makes it even more clear that we need decentralized systems that you simply cannot shut down, unstoppable systems. Now that, I love that term. That's what we're trying to build here, is an unstoppable force, powered by the users, for a change, right? So it all starts with a decentralized internet profile like ERC725 account. And then on top of that, you add many windows, websites, apps into the activity of those profiles, too many to censor them, ideally. Then we have new methods to moderate them in decentralized ways like Kleros, which they're building a decentralized arbitration protocol for disputes in the on-chain economy. And we get a new social web free from the control of few. So we're starting this on the LUKSO blockchain, like Ethereum, run by the people only. So if you believe in free speech, then you should run a node, create a universal profile, and help build the components of the free social web. Shout out to the fam already, heading down that path, and hopefully we continue to grow. And this is where we need to be, right? We're literally sitting on the sandbox of where this stuff's going to get built. And the more people we get into that LUKSO arena, the more we can start shaping out our own defenses against this type of tyranny and solidify, a fully decentralized social media that's built for everyone. And remember, fam, concerning social media, it's important that you tweet others the way that you'd like to be tweeted. Back to you, Sage.
Thank you, Alts. Tweet other people the way you want to be tweeted. Hilarious. I'm also not sure where you're located there, Alts, but if you ask me, I feel like that room you're in would be a lot cooler if it had green walls. But, it's just a thought there, I guess. To wrap up as our last section here, I'm just going to touch on the new website that came out from LUKSO. It's been a long time in the making. They've been teasing that they were going to drop this website for a couple months now. And with the website comes a slew of new marketing materials. The website is aesthetically pleasing, key resources are highly accessible on the homepage, and a call to action is relevant front and center. On the site, you can expect to find developer resources, community info, updates about upcoming grant rounds like the one we have with Gitcoin coming up in September. And on the home screen, you can also find this great statement as to why you should create a universal profile. Providing the foundation to unify our digital lives. It's great. Without knowing anything about universal profiles, as I don't really get anything about the universal profile on that homepage, except that it provides the foundation to unify my digital life. I immediately read that line and think, my digital life, it is pretty fragmented. A lot of different emails, a lot of different passwords, different bios, content scattered all over the place. Maybe this universal profile thing could be a solution. And if you were thinking that, you would be correct. And the point I'm trying to make here is twofold. One, universal profiles are sick and they're only getting sicker, right? We've talked about them a lot during the show, and there's a lot of different features and kind of thoughts coming around them. And as this app layer that ETH was talking about gets fleshed out, it'll only prove the power of these things even more. But two, the marketing from LUKSO, including the website, is getting better day by day. And you guys got to make sure you push it harder than they do, right? They're giving us these materials. They're doing all the research to find how we should be pushing these things. And we got to do our part to buy in as well. Now, in closing, thanks everyone for listening. If you're looking for more Keys content, make sure to check out our Sunday newsletter where we cover all of the need to know info from the past week in LUKSO. We also got a bunch more content coming out on our Twitter, our website, and our YouTube as well, including lightning talks, which are a collection of 5-minute presentations from LUKSO community members. On our site, you can catch blog posts by myself. And every Monday, look out for Medium Rare with Beef Banks, where he gives kind of some of his feelings, a synopsis of some of the things that happened in the last week as well. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and follow button. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on anything. Again, thank you all for the support. Heath, any last words?
No, I think you said it all. Pretty much everything to the followers. I would say to you, just paint that wall, dude.
I'm working on it, man. I got some paint swatches. They're posted all over this thing. I got to get it done. It's a disservice to all of you watching.
It's offensive to the eye.
Nice. All right. Thanks everyone for coming.